you, sir. They're running behind a bit, so I'm gonna give it about 10 minutes. Hopefully less. Flying down.
Yeah, I was surprised at Big Rock from the same constellation. He's really good.
I know. It's just like, you know, it's a bunch of holidays. Like they're probably
That's why I think that's what we
yeah. I mean, honestly, it's like sometimes you have to manage of that. Like everyone else goes, oh, well, you know, who knows?
And got a lot of passwords.
Yeah. Terrible. Like, sometimes I'll just be standing out there, like, I don't know, it's like 2 hours.
Like, I thought it was, yeah, it was bad on the go roads.
Like, I get sunburned all the time because I get my
Yeah, we did. I get all the alumni stuff.
I've never been with the summer, so.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the 6-pack, fall or winter, whatever you want to call it.
Winter light.
Yeah, I'm from up north. This weather is just like miserable.
Yeah. I lived in West Kansas for summer school. Yeah, Fluckers delivered to West Kansas. We get a lot of Fluckers. Well, I mean, yeah. Hey. Okay. Great.
So what did you get to work with Bree?
A few times, yes.
Twitter friends and all like, hang out.
Yeah.
Fellows.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, she normally works night side, and I normally work day side, but we always, well, we started not that far apart.
All right,
Yeah.
so we starting very soon.
Okay, thanks. All right, they're hitting the elevators now, folks. And good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, Keith.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's get started. Let me say good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm standing with our partners who have come together to announce an increased reward for information leading to the arrest and charges of the two individuals involved in the murder of New Orleans Police Detective Everett Briscoe and the other person who was wounded, Mr. Darren Ricoffey, who remains in the hospital in critical condition. I am joined by, of course, Chief Troy Fenner and his team, Ms. Rania Macarios, the Executive Director of Crime Stoppers Houston, the ATF Assistant Special Agent Noah Rangel, and businessman, of course, Tillman Patina. And then we also have one of the family members of Mr. Ricoffey, and that's Nicole Williams. And thank you for being here. What happened this past weekend in our city certainly was tragic, senseless, and a grave injustice to the victims and their families. Today, we are announcing a total reward of $40,000 for information leading to the killers. $5,000, of course, is coming from Crime Stoppers. I am adding $5,000 to this amount, $20,000 from Crime Stoppers of Greater New Orleans, $10,000 from ATF Houston. And this does not include anything that Tillman may add himself, and I'm going to let him speak to that. Since this horrific incident happened in broad daylight on Saturday outside the front of a popular restaurant, we have had a lot of tips called in, but we're still waiting for those persons out there who know who these suspects are, and we're asking them to provide that information to Crime Stoppers with an anonymous tip. And let me just say this, somebody out there knows something. There is no doubt in my mind that someone out there knows something, and we're asking you to step up and provide that information. We hope that with this increased reward incentive, that those people in the community outside of our city who have information who will do the right thing and give us the names and whereabouts of the suspects and the persons who are responsible for what took place on Saturday. Now, let me just say this temporarily. Let me just say this. You know who you are, and somebody out there knows who you are. I just want to be very clear. We will find you, okay? We will not stop until we find you. We're going to utilize every resource available to find you. And then I want to speak to those persons who know who these people are. Bear in mind, you too have a legal responsibility. You cannot harbor anybody who has committed this crime. So for those persons who did it, you know who you are, we will find you. For those people who have information with regards to who committed this crime, okay, you have an obligation to step up and provide the information, even in addition to the amount of reward dollars that are being made available. Let me ask you to call Crime Stoppers at 713-222-TIPS and give us that anonymous tip and be eligible for the reward. But more importantly, to do what you know is the right thing to do. And I want you to bear in mind that these two persons, they have families too. They have wives, they have children, they have relatives, they have friends. And I want you to put yourselves in their position. What took place on Saturday is simply unacceptable. On behalf of the city of Houston, I want the family of Officer Briscoe and Mr. Ricoffey to know that we share your grief and disbelief. I had the privilege of talking to both spouses over the weekend. To Terrell Briscoe, I want her to know that we are praying for her. The entire city is praying for her and lifting her up. To Nikia Ricoffey, I want her to know that this city is praying for her and her children, her family members, and we are lifting them up. The murder happened in our city, And I can assure you that our city, the Houston Police Department, Crime Stoppers, Houston, the ATF, and its partners and law enforcement will do everything possible to find the two criminals responsible for the shooting. It is simply just a matter of time. I want to thank Tillman Fertitta for his continuous support of law enforcement and his continuous support to this city, and appreciate him always stepping up in our moment of need. He's always been generous with his time and resources, and I know he would rather not be in this position today. With respect to the city of Houston, as I get prepared to turn it over to Chief Fenner, we will spend whatever overtime we need in order to protect the people in this city, even beyond what took place on Saturday. Let me assure the people in this city, whatever overtime dollars were needed to put more police officers on the streets, we will do that. We will work to add more police officers to the street. We will give the City of Houston's Police Department everything that they need in order to keep this city safe. At the same time, it's going to take a collective effort by all of us. The criminal backlog, the cases that are behind, the 100,000 plus, those cases have to go through the system. We have to have trials. People out on felony bonds awaiting trials, those cases must push forward. The criminal ecosystem must be reestablished and put back in places. People who are out on several bonds, felony bonds, that has to come to an end. The entire ecosystem has to be put back together. The responsibility cannot just fall on HPD. It cannot. It cannot just be the sole responsibility of 5,300 police officers to police this entire system, the entire ecosystem. And then lastly, the community must play its part. You got to. You have to play your part. And so people have to be prepared. When they know information, have information, you simply have to provide it. If we all work together, we can have a safe city. And incidents like what took place on Saturday need not occur. The relationship between New Orleans and the city of Houston has always been a close one. Always been a close one. And the mayor and I exchanged several texts over the weekend. The relationship between the two has always been close. And it continued to be close. But we have to find the killers of these shootings on Saturday. Having said that, let me yield now to Chief Fenner.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to show you the power and the beauty of two great cities, New Orleans and Houston. Our business owners, Crime Stoppers, ATF, all our partners and all our community is standing strong. I want to thank the tireless work of our investigators, and we're still searching for these suspects. And as the mayor said, we will find them. Whatever motivates you, the reward money that you will hear about here shortly, or just doing the right thing. Let's get it done. And I'm calling on all neighborhoods. I'm born and raised here. And I've said it, and I've proudly said, not many communities I don't know. All neighborhoods, everybody stand up. Somebody's seen something, and somebody's heard somebody say something. I'm charging everybody in all communities before the day ends. Make that call to Crime Stoppers. Let's get these dangerous individuals off our street. And to these families, thank you, Ms. Williams. Thank you, sir, for standing with us. I'm asking for prayer. I had this question several times over the past couple of days. Well, Chief, you got upset. It was a law enforcement person. Anybody who's known me for a long time know I love people. I love this city. And I'm offended and I'm hurt when anybody dies in our city. So we lost a fellow officer, Mr. Briscoe, but we also lost Mr. Ricoffey. He's still alive. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to say that. He's still fighting. His family is hurting. So let's stand strong together. I'm going to turn it over to our partners, ATF, followed by Crime Stoppers, and then Mr. Tillman Fatita. Thank you.
I'm going to go next, Chief.
Go ahead.
Thank you all. You got to remember the chief and the mayor and I, we all grew up in this city. We've all known each other for many years, back when he started politics, and I've known him for so many years. And these are my friends, and we're all in this together, and we're all going to solve this together. But thank you all for being here. I've been chairman of the Houston Police Foundation for the past 14 years, and have worked with Chief Fenner and the mayor for him the last, 6 years now. But even before that, when he was in the Senate, I would work with him in Austin. And we couldn't have two better people helping us right now with this. That's why they're here. The chief and I have had numerous conversations about this incident over the last weekend. And him and his team, I can tell you, this is a priority. And it's not just a priority because it is a police officer, because we do talk frequently. He's concerned about the crime in our city right now, as well as all cities in the nation. It's not just our city. Our hearts go out to the fallen New Orleans police officer. Those are our friends. I have many businesses in New Orleans. Part of my family is from New Orleans, so it does hurt even more. So for the Everett Briscoe's family and the Recoffey family, please know we are here and you are in our prayers, and we are extremely, extremely concerned. Everyone in Houston is aware of the dramatic increase in violent crime throughout our city. And it's both concerning and totally unacceptable. I find it so upsetting that a policeman visiting our city for a vacation weekend met such a violent death. And everybody said don't use those words, but that's what it was, a violent death. In Houston, we have to do better. We have a criminal justice problem here. According to the state, I want y'all to listen to this. Before COVID, Texas had 147,000 people in our prison system. Today it's down to 117. And believe me, I believe in prison reform. I don't think everybody should be in prison, but not violent criminals. They belong in prison. Where do you think the difference is? They're on our streets. That's why we have so much crime right now. This is hard to believe, but there are 70,000 felony cases in Harris County alone waiting for their first court appearance. Felonies. I don't give a damn about misdemeanors. Violent crimes. Many for armed robbery. And remember, robbers don't do it once and then retire. They're repeat offenders. And I promise you that's who committed this crime Saturday, was a repeat offender. We can't just continue to have him and his men and women arrest criminals. We need our system to hold them accountable. Let's be different than the other big cities today who are all right with crime. We're not all right with crime in Houston. Today, I'll raise the reward to $100,000 to support the Houston Police Department and all their efforts to find these criminals and to help solve this crime over the weekend. And as an extra effort to do my part, I'm going to contribute $1 million to the police department when he needs to solve a crime. When he needs a tipster out there and he needs $25 or $50 or $100,000, I will give him the money to help take these violent criminals off the street and use this awards for information to arrest the dangerous criminals in our city. I hope this contribution will help jumpstart the efforts to get these violent and habitual felons off our streets soon. We have elected very, very qualified city and county officials, but it's time for their leadership to work diligently with the justice system in our county to hold these criminals accountable and make our city a safer place for all. We have good leadership. Let's make it happen now. Thank you. And I had a conversation with Senator John Whitmire this morning, and he gave me those statistics. He's chairman of the criminal justice system in the state Senate, and he's given me information for years and is very, very into the problems here also. So, Mayor, it's always a pleasure to work with you, and Chief Fenner, it's always a pleasure. Thank you all very much.
We'll bring up ATF. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. My name is Noel Rangel. I am the Assistant Special Agent in Charge here in the Houston Field Division with ATF. First of all, I just want to extend my deepest condolences to the victims of this terrible crime, and to the New Orleans Police Department, who lost Detective Briscoe in the process. ATF is committed to supporting the Houston Police Department in this investigation. We are making all ATF resources available to the Houston Police Department, to include any resources involving NIBIN or any laboratory resources that ATF has at our disposal. And we are also adding an additional $10,000 to the reward money for any information that leads to the identification or the arrest of these suspects. And ATF will continue to support the Houston Police Department in this investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. And our partners from Crime Stoppers right here, come on up. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Actually, I'm not even going to use my comments. I'm very emotional today, and we've done many, many press conferences together. We're extremely sorry to both of you. I'm really moved by our leadership today. Crime Stoppers of Houston, about 2 years ago, took a turn and stood on its own to say what's happening in Harris County and the city of Houston is unconscionable. We are systematically and repeatedly letting out, as a practice, the most violent repeat offenders. And it's wrong. And we've worked with our mayor, who's taken a lot of, he's been put under a lot of pressure, and I know he can handle it and then some. And we've worked with our chief, who have stood up with us and said this cannot continue. We're not talking about misdemeanors. We're talking about a very popular restaurant in the middle of the afternoon, early dinner, on one of our busiest streets, where two men didn't even care to walk up to two other individuals and gun them down. They did not care. We care. We care that it was a detective, a police officer. We care it's a civilian. But at the end of the day, this is the city we live in. How many of us could have been at this restaurant with our families? What about the staff? What about the management? What about the people driving by? This is not, it just cannot continue. And I'm so proud of Mayor Turner for taking a stand on this issue. I am so proud of Chief Fenner for taking a stand on this issue. I'm so thankful to Tillman Fertitta, who has supported Crime Stoppers, of course, and has been a longtime supporter of public safety. But we, as a community, have had enough. We get the phone calls of the families that are followed home after eating dinner and who are tied up in their homes. We get the phone calls of people who are robbed just trying to shop at the Galleria. Now we're getting phone calls because somebody's gunned down at a restaurant in the middle of the afternoon in one of our most populated and popular parts of town. It's unconscionable. Visitors to our great city. This is a thriving city, and our city leadership has done so much to build up this city, and he's done an incredible job. Crime Stoppers for 2 years has been sounding the alarm. We are now having home meetings where we bring this issue to local citizens, and I'll tell you what they are universally saying, that they've had enough. They've had enough. They will show up at Commissioner's Court. They're going to show up in front of the state legislature. They're going to show up in city council meetings, not to create problems, but to say we've had enough and we're working on solutions. We are a city that will turn this around, I promise you, supporting our law enforcement, supporting our mayor, and our local leadership. Crime Stoppers, again, through the generous donations of everybody here, we are proud that the reward is up to $100,000. Please call us anonymously through our tip line. You can go to our website, crime-stoppers.org, or the Crime Stoppers of Houston app. And I promise you, we have engaged an army of citizens who have said enough is truly enough. We are so sorry for what you guys have gone through. We thank our leadership for what they're doing, and we look forward to continuing to work on this. Thank you.
Thank you. You good? Okay. That's good.
Let me just say, with respect to Mr. Rickoffy, who is still in the hospital in ICU, let me ask that this city pray for him. Okay, miracles still happen. Okay, and for those of us who believe in the power of prayer, let me ask that you lift him up, and then lift up his entire family and his friends. Let's do that. And then collectively, let's work together to address this situation as well as others. Because over the weekend, it just wasn't these two. There were others too who lost their lives. So let me just extend it a little bit beyond for anybody who has any information on any crime that's committed in our city. Had a conversation with a number of mayors recently, and even though what we are seeing is happening all over the country, it's happening all over the country. What really matters as far as I am concerned is what's happening here in the city of Houston. So everybody has a responsibility to play here. Every single person. And every parts of our community matters. Whether it's a murder that takes place, for example, in Sunnyside, or Acres Home, or Fifth Ward, or Galleria, it's important. Every family who's hurting right now because they've lost a loved one to this type of senseless violence, it's important. Okay? We need to address it. The number of guns on our streets, we need to address it. So everybody has a responsibility to play in keeping our city safe, and we need to play that role. But I'm asking you, if you know something, and somebody does know something, then that I do know. Somebody does know something. And I'm asking you to please provide us the information so that we can remove these persons off the streets so that they will not hurt somebody else. One thing I do know, if you do it once, you'll do it again. Okay? So please help us. And then, Chief, I give it back to you for any questions that you may have.
Go ahead. Any questions?
Sir, do you know if there's any other surveillance video where you can kind of see the suspects a little bit better?
I can tell you, and my lieutenant is here, and the investigator, they can speak to it, but I can tell you that's a part of the investigation. We canvassing every camera that we can, and hopefully we'll get something that's going to lead us to getting them in jail.
How many tips have you received?
I'm not sure. Most of the tips come into Crime Stoppers, but I hope after today, thousands of them come in, and all we need is one good one. Okay?
Chief, from the beginning, you made it known that you were close friends with Superintendent John Ferguson. How's it been with communicating with the department?
We've been communicating every day, and including his family, and we need to. We need to stand up and stand behind both families. But I told you on Saturday, that's not only a colleague, that's a very close friend of mine, and we've talked several times a day. And I plan to travel down. I think whenever they schedule the services. So.
How many homicide investigators are working this?
I'm not sure. Multiple. And we'll put as many as we can on that. And not only this case, other cases too.
Who are the homicide investigators on this?
Well, Lieutenant is here, and they'll talk to you in a second. Okay. Anything else? Thank y'all. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to break away if you got.
No, it's okay. As far as like any suspects, do you guys think they're from the area, not from here?
I don't want to rule out anything. Right now, we want to cast the largest net as we can, because like I told people, we're going to bring them in custody. And the mayor said it. And I want to thank everybody that's standing here again, and Mr. Petita, Crime Stoppers, our partners in ATF. We got the whole family, okay? And that's what it is. And we're going to bring them in custody.
I mean, sir, just so scary for the guys not to take anything?
Well, that'll be part of the investigation. We don't know, and I'm not finna speculate what was going through their mind. If they took something or if they didn't. They killed one person and critically injured another one, and he's in the hospital fighting for his life, and we're asking for prayers. Okay? Thank y'all.
Does the family want to say?
No, not now. Not now. And we'll, when they're up to it, if they want to, we'll allow them, bring them to you and allow them to make a statement. Okay? Thank y'all. Thank you.